I'm Eddie.
And I'm Tom.
And you're in the cyber
zone. And we kind of fucked that one all up, but oh well.
Hi, as we said, I'm Eddie, and he's Tom, and we got that right. And we look to get a lot more right than not, but we're here to break a lot of the myths in cybersecurity. There's a lot going on. We actually work within the world of cybersecurity, and you'll come to find out that there's more than meets the eye. You know, within cybersecurity, there's a baton race going on, and there's different eyes and hands going in and out of it, and we want to help the public understand what's actually going on versus what you think is going on, and what really is actually happening beyond the surface of what the media actually reports moving forward. So with a lot more experience than me, I like to pass it over to Tom. I'm Eddie. I'm going to be your Yankee, as you could tell. I'm the Yankee, and he's actually the hardcore redneck. He has a lot more years of experience in cyber and a lot more other things to go around. And we look forward to entertaining you in more ways than one with a little bit of education. So what do you say, Tom?
Yeah, man, I'm all for it. You know, it's the cyber world's a finical beast, and you get a lot of crap that's out there, and you get a lot of people talking about stuff they have no clue what they're talking about. So it's just fun to kind of debunk and go through some of these stories that are out there and call BS where BS is due. So
or even verify too. We want to verify
absolutely.
And actually highlight the folks who are actually reporting the good stuff too. So we don't want to just debunk, but we want to shed some light too on the good ones.
Yeah, because there are some good companies out there, some good people out there that really know what they're talking about. And then you just get the, fly-by-night people that are just like, you think they're experts, have no clue what they're talking about. And, it's fun to kind of throw all them people under the bus. And like you said, pick the people that know what they're talking about on the bus so we can run these other dumbasses over. So, I'm excited. It's going to be fun. It's a world that nobody really talks about. There is a lot of myths, a lot of crazy people, and it's gonna be fun, man. We'll get to it.
So just kind of get it into it so everyone kind of knows what they're dealing with. How many years in the cyberspace would you say you have?
So I've been doing. I started in computer forensics 11 years ago, and did computer forensics for probably the first 5-6 years of my career, in the aspect of collections analysis, forensic analysis, those sorts of things. Kind of transitioned into the IR incident response space about 4.5 years ago, doing 365 investigations, and then transitioned over to currently what I'm doing now, which is kind of boots on the ground, on site. We call it post-breach remediation. So really helping a company who's been attacked in the cyber world, ransom, whatever, help them rebuild their environment, get them back up and running so they can continue to make money. So, to answer your question, I've been doing some form of computer forensics / incident response for the last 11 years.
But I thought cybersecurity just started because CNN said so a year ago.
Yeah, that's the cool thing about CNN, man. They just like the internet, man. They never lie.
Yeah, no, never. Because it's weird. If you didn't know any better, people thought that issues with cybersecurity and within the space itself are just presenting themselves over the last 24 months, or over the last 12. But that's not the case. Tom just said he's been doing this for over a decade already in digital forensics and most recently incident response. So. And, you'll find out that within the cyber world, there's multiple different varying touches and degrees. And he just touched on one of them, if not two, depending on the situation. So I myself, I have limited experience. I have about a year going into hardcore cyber experience. I am Department of Defense certified, and we all know how we feel about out there in terms of certifications and what they mean or what they don't mean. And we can get into that in the future too. So we look forward to really chewing on all kinds of stuff, but I'm more of the mouthpiece Yankee. Tom's the hardcore experienced redneck. He gets down and dirty. He drives the Jeeps. He's up on tops of mountains. I can barely open, a can of corn, so together we're going to come together and, provide, a lot of dynamic commentary, if you will. But I have years of radio experience of myself, entertainment, in business, myself all over the country, and Tom's traveled all over the world. So I think at the very least, if you learn a few things and laugh a couple times, you're going to be in for a good time.
I think it's going to be more of hopefully it's there's some education, and people do get start to get an understanding of how cybersecurity happens, how these events take place, what's going in the mind of the people, the company that's happened to, what's going in the mind of the people that are trying to remediate it or even investigate it, right? Those are some of the things that we're going to be able to shed light on that are not a lot of people fully understand. And you know what? Being a director of the company that I'm at, I'm not a very bright person, but I know how to dumb stuff down to talk to people who have absolutely no idea what's going on. And so I think we're going to be able to do that, right? I think we're going to be able to take this high level response and I don't want to say dumb it down, right? Because that just sounds like ass, but bring it down to a level that I think people will understand more, right? Yeah. And so that's the good thing about you and I. We're able to take what we've learned over the years and bring that down to a specific level that everybody understands, right? Non-tech, tech, it doesn't matter. I'm going to show you and I'm going to tell you from my standpoint, like you said, I'm a redneck at heart, right? So, I have to slow things down for myself to really, truly process it and get things moving. And I think that's going to be a good thing, letting everybody know from my perspective, from your perspective, what's going on during an incident and kind of moving forward with that.
Yeah. And the great thing about that is Tom has the nice, slow, draw. And I'm like, I'm quick all over the place, and people say, oh, you're nervous. I'm like, no, I'm from the East Coast. Have you ever visited New Jersey? This is me on a good day. You don't want to give me any coffee or even let me smell it. So decaf is fine. So, between the both of us, you're going to get everything of what you need and then some. So we want to shed light, like we said, and we want to have fun though, too, at the same time. We're not coming to this saying, oh, because we're in the industry that's very limited and, is very hot topic and a hot commodity right now. We're not here to be pompous or say we know more or, look at us. We're actually here to try to dub it down, not to make ourselves sound elevated, but to actually help us all understand it so that everyone understands what's really at stake here on a daily basis. So everyone understands what's really happening and what's really not happening, so that's what I think what's great about the show is that not only does the market need something where folks that are with actually industry insiders, because most people are scared to talk about, this industry. Hey, we can't go into specifics, but we can talk about some things we've been involved in. We can't talk about the names of the places and the people and the things, but we can go in and shed some light on things. And it's really going to help people instead of think what they know, but actually put their finger on the pulse and start to really touch the precipice of what cybersecurity really is.
Yeah, I think there's so many misconceptions out there about cybersecurity, and you have all of these companies, and we can get more in depth and on later episodes. But let's talk about the pipeline real quick for a second, right? So the pipeline incident took place, and everybody's like, "Oh my God, they spent millions of dollars for paying for a ransom."
Yeah.
Well, what people don't understand is it's not just a matter of paying millions of dollars for ransom. It's national security. Yeah. It's you name it. How many people want their information out on the dark web, right? So it's all about data. It's all about the perception of data and everything like that. And so it's not as easy as the federal government coming out and saying, oh, well, we don't want anybody to pay ransom again. Okay, buddy, we'll see how long that lasts, right? So, that's the whole thing about what this podcast is going to be about is getting people to understand that the federal government's not always right. We all know that.
Wait a second. What are you talking about?
I know. Shocker, I know. Please forgive me. Right. Not everything you read on the internet is right. Another shocking revelation.
Google would lie to us. You heard it first. You heard it first here on the Cyber Zone.
Yeah, right. And so, and even the news outlets, the news organizations that are reporting these things, right? They're getting information from other people, and those other people, who knows what their credentials are? They're just kind of figuring things out as they go along. So, with us, I think we're gonna put a little bit of I don't want to say comedy as a backdrop, but we're gonna have some fun. We're gonna shed light on subjects that not a lot of people understand, and I think a lot of people should understand, and they should care, because okay, Pipeline spent millions of dollars on a ransom event. Where's that money coming from?
Yeah, it's funny too. You and I. We actually had a victory. Yeah, exactly. And we actually had a victory, though, in terms of like one of the first times we were able to recoup almost half of that money back. You know what I mean? Because they were able to use Bitcoin, and the FBI actually did something this time. And they actually were able to go in there and actually do something, like the way that you would think the FBI was there. They did that thing that they were supposed to do, but only when the whole world was actually watching. What they do or don't do when no one's watching is kind of scary, to be honest with you, and who they rely on and the people, so. But we actually were able to recover, the United States government, if you will, we're able to recover half of those funds, I think, or a good portion. And people said, yeah, but it wasn't all of it. It's like, what are you talking about? That in and of itself, in my personal opinion, is a victory. The fact that we're able to exfiltrate that back and hack the hackers and actually go on the offense for once, and not just play bad defense, but actually play, that was pretty good offense. Even though we had bad defense, we played some good O, and let these attackers know they're not just hitting sitting ducks moving forward. So.
A lot of these, everybody would be surprised at the number of events that take place every day. And I don't know what that figure is. I'd have to look that figure up, but I'm sure it's astronomical, crazy. And how many times the FBI or the federal government actually gets involved in these cases? Slim and none, right? Now, is it part of national security why they get involved? Because of the pipeline incident? Probably. Yeah. But healthcare industry, they don't get involved in that stuff. The little mom and pop shops that are having to pay, $500,000 in ransoms, they don't get involved in that stuff. It's beneath them. It doesn't mean anything to them. So, it's interesting to see the dynamics, and really, since I've started doing it, and when incident response really started coming into play, 4 or 5 years ago, really, and to where it is now, it's gone. It's grown exponentially. When I first started doing it, ransoms were, $1,000, $2,000. Yeah. Now, what is it? One of the group that just got hit, they don't go below 1.5 million, right? So look at where we've gone over the last number of years, and now a lot of times, a lot of these guys, they're not encrypting anymore. They're stealing data and holding data for ransom, and then at that point, what's your data worth? And then that's the big question. That's what nobody's asking. And that's why the federal government has no idea what they're talking about when they're saying, we don't want you to pay ransom anymore.
Yeah, sorry. But they figured out how to stop all ransom. I don't know, breaking news, everyone. They actually said if you just get rid of all blockchains, ransomware goes away. And that's it. I mean, honestly, if you just go down, I think it's off of JFK Boulevard or off of Pennsylvania Ave, I think there's just a Bitcoin factory, and you just turn off the lever. You just go in there, you turn it right down, and boom, ransomware is gone. It makes no sense to me too that all of a sudden we're going to shut down every major blockchain that's decentralized, that you don't control yourself as a federal government, but now you think you're going to be able to write it all itself when you have no control, and that in and of itself is going to stop ransomware. Will it help? Yes. Will it stop it? No. The folks will ask for payment in other ways in the future. That's not going to stop. They'll find ways to ask for money, and you will find ways to pay it. What we need to do is play better defense and play better offense, in my opinion. And we've been sitting ducks for far too many years.
Yeah, it is funny you say that, because I worked a case a couple years ago. It was a school district, and a few of the IT guys got together and thought it'd be a good idea to use school resources to mine Bitcoin over the summer while nobody was paying attention. Wow. So it's not just some dude sitting in a basement with, 4 or 5 video cards mining Bitcoin. No. It's all these other things that you've got to think of, and that's how they got hit. By the way, when they downloaded the one of the Bitcoin miners that they were going to run, it came with malware, and the malware started infecting itself through the system, and then locked them up 2 weeks before graduation.
Oh,
So,
and you won't hear about that in the news. That's a lot of stuff that you're just not going to be able to hear about. You know? Yeah.
Yeah, so it's amazing how all these people think that, oh well, this I can't believe this stuff is just starting, just happening.
Yeah.
No, it's been going on for years. And
Insider threats are usually one of the biggest, if not the biggest problem. Correct. And
yeah,
even not in terms of just being malicious. Sometimes just the pure ignorance of itself. It's insider threat from maliciousness to ignorance. Presents lots of issues on all the networks we face. Phishing's the number one way that these bad guys get in. Phishing emails. It is what it is, right? So it's not always malicious activity. It's not always a Russian guy in a really crazy, sophisticated area. It's not always some crime organization. Sometimes it could be Mr. Smith, the unsuspecting school employee. Sometimes it could be Kathy. She didn't know what she was doing. She seen an email. She went into it, takes the whole company down. Whatever. It's a bad Thursday.
Yeah, it's Ann in accounting clicking a link from supposedly Bill, the CEO, going, hey, can you look at this document for me? They click the document. It's got an embedded code in it. It reaches out. Boom, boom, boom. Next thing you know, Jed's a millionaire, and Jed's sitting in some third world country. You know what I mean? So
living it up, and all because they didn't practice any type of least privilege. Everyone had admin credentials, and just allows the infection itself to spread. Very similar to ways that things spread between humans. When you don't have things quarantined and you don't have things locked down and you don't have a process in place, things like this happen. So it's as COVID happens and you see all this biological talk, I see a lot of the same, you had just said it, you see a lot of the same correlations and a lot of the same similarities just within the computer space itself.
Yeah, well, thanks to COVID, right? We've gone more to a work from home model, right? And so companies have started to open up their networks more so more people can work from home.
Oh, that presents zero issues.
Absolutely. No issues whatsoever. And so that, and that's how a lot of these companies are getting hit now. So,
yeah. And a ton. I mean, like you said, you couldn't even quantify what's happening. You can go to threat maps, if you will, online, any free threat maps, and you can kind of just get a rough idea of what's being reported via the networks. Not actually, just imagine houses being sold on the market. Now, how many houses are being sold off the market? So we really think we know, but we don't know. Me and Tom think we have our finger on the pulse, and we don't. We just have a little bit. I have a very little. Tom has a little bit more than me, and we just have a little bit more than you, and that's the scary part. We're just getting into it, and that's coming from Tom, who even has 10 years experience himself. So if you're just starting the conversation today, you're kind of already behind, so you better catch up. Yeah,
and you see, everybody talks about Bitcoin and Monero and Dogecoin and all these other cryptocurrencies, and that's what all this stuff is being paid with, and so understanding the dark web, which is a whole nother podcast iceberg in and of itself, right? And so when your data is stolen, it's sold on the dark web and sold for pennies on the dollar, and your social security numbers and your addresses and all this other fun stuff. Anybody, I can go on there, use a Tor browser and go on the dark web and.
Oh, what's this purple thing on my browser? That looks like an onion. Is that what that would be?
Is that Tor? Maybe. Yeah, right. So you jump on the dark web, and I mean, shoot, anything's for sale on the dark web. Literally, I mean, that's the dark web is a whole podcast series
season. Yeah, exactly.
In and of itself, right? So
it's a shame. It's a shame people don't realize that this money isn't just going to fund a 23-year-old, Vladimir and his Bugatti. This isn't just sports cars and condos. This money does go, and we don't know to which organizations and where it goes and how, but it does funnel, human trafficking in some instances. It does funnel terrorism, domestic, international. So when we're even on jobs, I don't think the people we work with even really know the severity of what we're involved in, really what's at play here. When that money does leave and it does go somewhere else, what type of impact is that going to have on an international scale? I mean, it really, and the numbers we're talking about in the millions now, we're not talking about $1,000, $2,000, $3,000. Millions of dollars are at play here, and people can press enter and rent the services from ransomware as a service. People can now, just like they need to rent a car for Uber so they can earn a few dollars, maybe some folks in other countries want to earn a few dollars via ransomware. And these same companies that hit you will now lease that same tool and that same vehicle to other folks, independent contractors, independent ransomware folks who want to go ahead and attack you with no experience, with no history, and really almost no abilities. But some of them have decent GUIs, and all you got to do is press enter or just give them the strike, the coordinates, and boom, you have your money. They take their share. So the most unsophisticated people now have access to destroy your most sophisticated assets.
Yeah, and you know, other thing that some of these people don't understand is that the money that's being created, or not created, but being made by these ransom go to state-run organizations.
No.
Yeah, believe it or not, man. You know, there's some crazy countries out there that need ways to make money, and this is how they make money.
Well, and it goes to show that not only is those countries, and we don't need to name any of them, I think we could pick the names out of a hat that do the things that we're talking about. There's other nation state countries that take cybersecurity way more serious than we ever have. And that country, for one, would be Israel. Israel, you know, one of our allies, those folks are mining kids, you know, intellect kids at 12, 13, 14, and they're starting them on a cybersecurity trajectory. Literally at the age of, like I said, 13 years old, by the age of 18, they've already carried out nation state attacks on other terror state nations that, you know, a 35-year-old with 45 certifications could only dream of. So there's folks that are at the forefront. And if you had to pick a country, you know, me personally would have to pick Israel. They actually take everything within themselves. They do it as a government. They don't do it and contract it out. They do it within the government, and they make a lot of waves. And I'm only talking about what Israel does, specifically what their cybersecurity directives. That's what I'm talking about.
You know, you look at statistics, right? And statistically, most of the ransom attacks come from Eastern European countries, right? So you can, you know, look at a map and figure out your Eastern European countries and who would have the most or the most opportunistic in stealing data from U.S. based companies or large world companies, stuff like that. So that's factual information, right? I'm not just throwing that off the top of my head, saying, oh yeah, you know, Russia or whatever, Yugoslavia or whatever. No, statistically, most of the attacks come from Eastern European countries, right? So that's factual information.
And to build on what Tom's saying, not only is that factual statistical data, you know, for the stuff that's happening and coming from Russia that can statistically be verified, it happens to be a lot more coming from specifically a country like Russia, because they don't necessarily use the resources as a government Russia-wise to go ahead and attack, you know, to go track these attackers down. So a lot of folks can find safe haven. You know, maybe it's not illicitly spoken about legally, but then again, they're not being pursued, if you will. And last time I checked, America can't ask Russia, hey, do you mind if we go in there and take a look for some terrorists? Would you mind? I think Russia would mind.
Yeah, you know, it's funny that you bring that up too, because if you look at, you know, the FBI or CIA or, you know, whatever the three-letter agencies you want to reference, when we talk about trying to catch these guys, a lot of these bad actors, threat actors, whatever you want to call them, are in non-extradition countries, right? So
by design.
Yeah, exactly. So they know they can steal millions and millions of dollars and not come to have to deal with the U.S. So how do we catch those people, right? So we wait for them to go on vacation to countries that we have extradition treaties with, and when we know they're there, we send people to those countries and stand at the gate and wait for them to come off the plane.
Thank God for Interpol, right? FBI
Yeah, exactly.
can't do everything, you know. So
right.
You know, and that's why we have some friends across the pond still, and they have their fingers in the mud too, and that's why it's important to the way that, let's say, the international governments have gotten finally, let's say, on the table to talk about the environment, right? Okay, and they're still arguing, and they will argue for years on how we would deal with the environment. we need an international landscape, an international table forum to start talking about cybersecurity and get all the countries, just the way that they are on these other government forums, to be included on these initiatives. Because if half of the countries are, but the other half aren't, that's not going to help. Because then these terrorists, these criminals, will then go ahead and find safe haven in the other countries. So it's important that on an international level, you start to see cooperation on things like cybersecurity, because it's going to take that unified cooperation like we did on COVID-19, the environmental pushes, and all these other things, and human rights pushes. It's going to take that type of G6 summit, G7 summit push to really put a clamp on the cyber terrorism.
Yeah, and great idea. Will it happen? No. You know why? Because a lot of those countries are making a shit ton of money off of these cyber attacks.
Yeah, and I know, and that's why it's important.
Exactly. So why would I want? Let's say I'm Kyrgyzstan or whatever. Name a country out there, and why? If I'm making millions of dollars a year on cybersecurity, that because I'm hacking all of these companies, what benefit is it for me? Other than doing what most of these countries do now, with all of these different summits and all these bullshit things that they go to. They lie, they cheat, they steal, they just show up because, it's going to make me look good if I'm in front of these people and talking about, oh yeah, we need stricter cybersecurity policies, blah, blah, blah. But in the background, I'm making a shitload of money. I'm making millions of dollars off of the destruction of the world.
Yeah, and we know policy. We can argue about that for the next 100 years. But how much is policy, and how far does it actually go? Right. So this is you have to take your security into your own hands. We can't wait for the government to protect us and save us, and that's why it is important that companies, small, medium, and large alike, protect themselves. It's important that you help grandma protect her stuff at home. It's important that you help yourself protect yourself and use a VPN and get familiar with these terms. So there's things that we need to do, that we need to take into our own hands for our own security, while at the same time barking and pleading, over the next 100 years for maybe an inch or a crumb for the nobles at the top, because it's
or you tell world leaders the top 15 infrastructures not to hit. Right, our most vulnerable locations. Oh no, don't it should be off limits to hit those locations.
Well, we should identify countries that are obviously making a good amount of revenue, if you will, in progress with this type of model, and say, hey, listen, if you're getting any money from us as a country, then maybe we need to talk about that, because there is ways. Money stalks. It's all about the money. So if any of these countries are out there, these no-name countries that me and you can't even pronounce, to be honest with you right now, and I know we'll get comments for that, but those countries that are very whatever, we could say, hey, if you don't want any aid, that's fine too. And we could start putting red lines and start attaching maybe some of these gray countries with the North Korea or the Irans of the world. Maybe we start lumping them together, because if they're going to stay gray and not pick a side, then maybe we'll just pick the side for them.
Yeah, or how about we spend the money that we would send to them for whatever, and we put it into our own country and our own infrastructure, and help better protect our way of living.
That's ridiculous. Everyone knows the best way to improve your standard of living is to give all your money away to people you've never met across the world and hope that it trickles back to you eventually. Everyone knows that's the best way to prosperity.
Who knows, man? You're probably right, and I'm probably completely wrong. But it's a fun industry to be in. I love it. Like I said, I've been doing it for 11 years now, and
doesn't it feel like you're just getting started though?
Yeah, well, especially in the cyber field, because it's ever changing. These guys are some of the world's best coders in the world, and you have to be, right? In order to do what they're doing, you have to understand beyond a shadow of a doubt what you're doing and how to do it. These guys aren't dummies. This isn't some. I know this is a Best Buy pamphlet here, but this isn't hacking 101 for dummies, right? This is these guys. This is what they do day in, day out. You and I have a job, a full-time job, right? We go, we sit behind a computer, we do whatever we need to do. We go on site, we help people recover. This is their job.
Let's break that down, Tom, actually. So what PBR, what we do, in part of the triathlon, the part that we're in the baton is post-breach remediation. So after an attack has happened, we're the guys you call, or gals, we're the guys and gals you call to come out on site to help remediate your servers and your desktops and actually get you back into a business operating, to capacity again, like you were before the attack. So we're the ones you call when shit hits the fan.
Yeah, and to not go into too crazy in depth, we do three things, right? We help a company three different ways. One, we help them do a complete rebuild, right? They don't have any backups. They ain't got shit. Everything's encrypted. They don't want to pay. We help them rebuild their entire environment. Second way, they do have backups, and they're viable backups, and they don't want to pay. So we help them deploy from backups and then rebuild whatever infrastructure they need rebuild from that. And then the third way is they ain't got shit. They're up shit's creek, and the only thing that they can do is pay the ransom, and they get the key. And so we come in and we help them decrypt and then work with them on hardening their systems. And so, really in a nutshell, right? And we can expand on these different areas later on different episodes, but in a nutshell, that's the three main things that we do when we go on site. And it's great.
I call ourselves frontline cybersecurity.
Absolutely.
And that's what we are. So the easiest way is just, we are the frontline cybersecurity pros who come out. We leave our family, on a moment's notice, and within 24 hours, we deploy to anywhere in the world. We actually have the capacity to do that anywhere in the world, similar to Navy SEALs. Not as badass. We're pressing some buttons. We do a lot of stuff. We're eating donuts in between, but we're helping save and restore companies in their darkest times. And I do actually enjoy what I do. I get to help people. My whole life, I've always enjoyed helping people, and I do like helping myself and my family. And this is a space where I get to grow every day. Yeah. I get to help people every day. I get to learn on the fly a lot, and it keeps you feeling alive. And you know what? For me, I get to help people too in their darkest of times, and it's something that I personally have experience in. So it's nice to be able to help someone just a little bit. Maybe put a smile on their face, even for 30 seconds that day, because literally they're going through some of the darkest days they've ever went through as an entrepreneur or business owner or manager in their life. So.
Yeah, when we get on site, and I've had this conversation way too many fucking times with business owners and CEOs, and the biggest thing is if we don't get up in a week, we have to shut the door, and that's a hard pill to swallow. The healthcare industry, right? When we're doing healthcare, when we're helping hospitals recover from a ransom attack, and they're like, yeah. Our dialysis unit down, the cancer treatment center down, you can't have babies because all the operating rooms down. You can't save people's lives because everything is down, right? That's a shitstorm to walk into, and to be able to go in there and go, you know what, we're going to do whatever we can to get you all back up and running. And so let's break it down. Let's do a prioritization. Let's prioritize what departments need to come up first. It's not best, finance needs to come up. Sorry, finance can do its own thing, right? What's more important? Saving people's lives, right? And when it comes to a healthcare environment. So let's bring those units up first. Let's do this. Let's do that. Let's make sure people are able to survive another day before we start worrying about other hey, finance is important. Don't get me wrong. That's what makes the world go around, money, right? But if there's nobody around to make the world go around.
Yeah, well, when loss of life comes in, and that's why jobs do change. The scope changes. Sometimes it's not just about stopgap for the loss of revenue. Sometimes you're literally trying to save lives. Yeah, literally, it's a loss of life situation. One of my first, my first job was, just for the record, just so everyone knows, if you will find out in the future, Tom and I do work together in the cyberspace. We do work at the same consultancy firm. Later on, you'll figure that out on your own, but I figured I'd give you a little bit of a crumb now. So, but on one of my first ones, people don't realize what cybersecurity is, and I myself didn't. at one point. You may think it's just you're sitting in front of a computer, but actually try sitting in front of folks on chemo, and you're actually assisting to do forensics on a laboratory machine while you're in full scrubs, and you're watching them fight for their life in front of you. And now they don't have access to their medical records for their next treatment of medicine because, like most companies in modern times have moved all of their records into the digital, into the cloud, if you will, or into a local C drive that they now don't have access because they didn't use the shared drive. So, we're a part of these things, and I've been a part of situations where we're helping to restore a city. At first, I never thought I'd restore a hospital or a school or a major whatever, and then one day I'm out there saving a city, and the National Guard's waiting to give the keys to us. So anything can happen in cybersecurity, and those are the things that I'm excited for, touching on that in the future. And what do cybersecurity response looks like when a city is attacked? Who are they calling? Why is the National Guard passing it off to Tom and me? Hey, I liked it. It's great. But I was just confused. I thought we're training them to do certain things. And I would like to kind of see, not that I don't want to be out of work. I love work. I want to help as many people as possible. But I would kind of like to see some of the people in camo with all the fancy certs and all the millions of dollars of DOD behind them. Maybe they do some things too. That would be swell. Just a little bit, not some. I didn't say take it over. I never want the government to take over anything. I'm just saying you need a little bit of government coordination when you're dealing with nation states and you're dealing with other governments that are coordinating at a different level. The answer is not to be completely libertarian on this one, but it's also not to be super the other way. I think we just need a little bit of touch.
Yeah, and I agree. I mean, I do think, in some respect, the federal government does need to get more involved in it, whether it be, the boys in uniform or the boys in suits. It really doesn't matter.
Or a new one. It could be a whole new other acronym to fuck things up and fuck up bureaucracy. Exactly. Let's just do another acronym.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So, but I don't see it. I really truly don't see it.
But Joe Biden said.
Well, Joe Biden doesn't know what he's talking about, and I'll leave it at that.
Nor for the record does Donald Trump or really anybody in the space. There's nobody conservative or Democrat that really knows. And can I throw a bone out there? Actually, Patrick Murphy, he made smile, and it's not the Patrick Murphy he knows, but I will throw a bone to some folks who do know what they're talking about. Patrick J. Murphy, he was a former U.S. congressman from Bucks County, Pennsylvania. He served his country honorably as a lawyer and has done all kinds of things for our country. He is on the U.S. cybersecurity solarium. This guy, for the last 10 years, as Tom has been traveling the world and doing stuff in cyber, he has been helping to legislate and get awareness out there at a state to federal level. So there's a few folks out there that really are about it and actually have a lot of passion in it. But when I say a few, I fucking mean a few. I don't mean 20. I mean, I could name one myself at the highest level, and that's probably fucking it. So
I can't name any. So there you go. And I've been doing this for 10 years. Yeah. Right? Nobody cares.
And this guy's from West Point, and but there's only one G.I. Joe that I can actually think of that's human. G.I. Joe has the record of service and actually has the passion for cybersecurity. That's one person. And have I seen him on MSNBC, CNN, or any of the major media outlets talking? No. Have I seen Jekylls and Hydes I've never even heard of, where I've looked up that never even operated one engagement in their goddamn fucking life? Yes. They don't even know what the fuck they're talking about, No. So it's really important that this show gets out there for more reasons than one, so we can highlight Patrick J. Murphy, former U.S. congressman, because he's a fucking winner. And we can start highlighting the pretenders, too, and really get to the meat and potatoes of all this going on.
Yeah, and it's sad that that nobody has been willing to jump into this space and really put something like this together, right? Because there is so much misinformation going on between with people that have no idea what the fuck they're talking about, but yet they're thrown in front of a camera and made to be experts on something that they've never dealt with.
At least come on and say, hey, listen, this is a new space for us. We don't know what the fuck we're talking about. And we got a guy on here. I don't think he fucking knows what he's talking about. But we're going to talk about it together and figure it out. And it all comes down to money.
That doesn't make money.
I'd watch that. Two
I
guys
would
who don't know
too.
what they're talking about. That's this show.
Yeah, pretty much. But that doesn't what's the you're you know more about broadcasting than I do. But
ratings,
the catchphrases, the memes of the day, whatever you want to call it, right? So it's not fancy enough to really do anything. So.
Well, I think this was a good first, introduction to kind of what we're getting into. Please, you're watching this right now. We appreciate you even taking the time to get this far. Take a look into a redneck and a Yankee alike. And, redneck and a Yankee talk cyber. The fuck, right? But listen, drop a comment. Let us know what's on your mind. What questions do you have? Send us an article you want us to review on here. Let us know if there's a video you want us to watch and do a reaction on. Let us know what's out there that you want us to debunk. Give us some topics, that you want us to highlight so that we could explain in further detail for you. This is all about you folks. A little bit about Tom and I, right? A little bit about us, but mostly about you folks so that we can go out there and dispel all the bullshit and highlight all the good stuff. So watching this, drop a comment, like, share, all that good stuff. We don't got to say it. If you want to see us, share the shit. Share it with your friends. Share it with your coworkers. It's funny. It's educational. And, we're going to be talking about some other stuff too. So it's a cybersecurity zone with a little bit of variety sprinkled in.
Absolutely. And we're going to have guests on. We're going to have people come on that are dumber than me, maybe smarter than both of us combined. Who knows? It's really going to be a catch-all for cybersecurity space.
Yeah, and we appreciate it and look forward to it. So we got to run. That's our time. We literally are in the middle of cybersecurity madness because that is our space. That's our fucking business. So this is the Cyber Zone. This was the first episode of many. I'm Eddie.
And I'm Tom.
And you're leaving the zone, the Cyber Zone.
Have a good one, guys.